Ceux qui n'ont pas bravé la neige. Hein? Good morning. Bon matin tout le monde. Merci d'être là aujourd'hui. Thanks for being here today and welcome back to the Parliament of Canada. Ce matin, nous débutons le retour des travaux à la Chambre des communes pour une période de 14 semaines, à un moment unique dans l'histoire de notre pays et partout dans le monde. Comme l'a dit le Premier ministre Carney la semaine dernière, nous vivons en effet un moment de pleine rupture et non de transition. Le chef de l'opposition, Pierre Poilievre, a récemment félicité le Premier ministre pour ses paroles et il a également ajouté que le Parti conservateur sera toujours ouvert à travailler en collaboration avec le gouvernement. C'est donc une opportunité qui s'offre maintenant à lui. Last week in Davos, Prime Minister Carney delivered a speech on the international stage that was both forthright and honest. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre effectively said the Prime Minister's speech was, quote, well-crafted and eloquently delivered, unquote. Mr. Poilievre added that Conservatives are, as always, willing to work with the Prime Minister to, quote, turn these words into action. Well, now he has an opportunity to do just that, to work with us in the House of Commons, to collaborate. We will take him at his word and accept his outreached hand to work together at this very challenging time in our nation's history. Now, that means some tangible things. He's going to have to apply himself to this, to work constructively on legislation and not obstruct, to move ahead with legislation in the House and in committees, including quickly adopt a bill to provide immediate grocery relief to Canadians. In his letter to the Prime Minister last week, Mr. Poilievre stated that he would fast-track ideas that make food affordable. He has that chance with these brand-new affordability measures that you heard the Prime Minister announce moments ago. He also has an opportunity to quickly expedite the Carney Plan, the Budget Implementation Act, an act to grow our economy, to create opportunities in new markets, and to get and secure $1 trillion of new investment in this country. We want Mr. Poilievre to commit to a reasonable timeline for debate at report stage and third reading in the House of Commons. This legislation provides important assistance to grow our economy, to create jobs, and help Canadians with these challenging times. Additionally, we call on Mr. Poilievre to tell Conservative senators to stay out of the way of passage of Bill C-4, which provides an income tax cut to Canadians, a GST housing rebate, and which formally eliminates the consumer carbon tax. We want Conservative senators to stay out of the way of this legislation. The Conservatives slow-walked this bill, as all of you know, in Parliament in the fall, and we want to make sure Conservative senators don't do the same thing. Par ailleurs, Mr. Poilievre should also support the quick passage of Bills C-14 and C-16, important justice legislation before the House currently, and before committees, obviously, to protect victims of crime, reform the bail system, address extortion and child pornography. He should finally support giving police the tools they need with a fair and reasonable lawful access regime. It's time for the Conservatives to put up or shut up on crime. A suite, an historic suite of legislation to deal with crime in our communities is before Parliament, and we are telling Mr. Poilievre, get out of the way, free your MPs to vote for this legislation that will deal with crime in Canadian communities. We also call on Mr. Poilievre to assure Canadians that Conservative senators do not hold up passage of another piece of crime legislation, Bill C-12, which secures our borders and improves our immigration system. Now, all of the issues that I have outlined are things that Conservatives have called for, including Canadians, maybe especially Canadians, in Conservative ridings. These are tangible things that Mr. Poilievre could do right now if he is serious about working together for Canadians. We are willing to have the House sit extended hours this week, next week, as long as it takes, if required, to make progress. This is a time of anxiety for many Canadians. C'est un temps d'anxiété pour l'ensemble des Canadiens. Throughout our towns and cities, many of our neighbors share the same worry. How will I afford the cost of living? How secure is my job in an economy and a trading environment that is rapidly changing? How safe am I on the streets of my community? And how safe is my country in a world where instability and conflict has become all too commonplace? And how does Canada adjust to a new world where we can no longer count on trading relationships of the past that brought us economic prosperity here at home? Voilà des questions essentielles. These are all important questions. Last week in Davos, Prime Minister Carney outlined Canada's approach to the New World reality, one that is both principled and pragmatic. And since taking office last spring, our government has moved rapidly to improve the lives of Canadians and strengthen our place in the world. Among other things, the Carney Plan cuts income taxes for millions of Canadians, cuts taxes on capital gains and business investment, removes all federal barriers to interprovincial trade, fast-tracks $8 trillion, with a T, dollars of investment in energy, AI, and critical minerals, doubles our defense spending by 2030, and rapidly diversifies trade markets abroad. We have a brand new comprehensive strategic partnership with the European Union on defense. We've signed 12 other trade and security deals on 4 continents. In recent days, we have concluded new strategic partnerships with China and Qatar, and we are currently negotiating free trade pacts with India, ASEAN, Thailand, and Philippines. In short, the Prime Minister has outlined to his fellow world leaders the path we are now on as Canadians. Le Premier ministre a partagé avec les chefs d'État autour du monde la voie que nous suivons actuellement en tant que Canadiens. It is in this time of crisis, this is the leadership the Canadians asked for when they elected a new government last April. And now, with this sitting of the House, they're turning to their parliamentarians to show leadership. Les Canadiens se tournent vers les parlementaires pour démontrer non de l'obstruction, mais du leadership. We believe now is time to get big things done. Les Canadiens ont été très clairs au cours des dernières élections. Le Canada a besoin d'un leadership fort. Et en ces temps incertains, les Canadiens comptent sur nous, les membres du Parlement, pour passer à l'action et bâtir un pays fort et résilient. C'est un travail que nous avons déjà entamé l'automne dernier et c'est le reflet de l'approche pragmatique et basée sur des principes de notre gouvernement. Nous espérons que le Parti conservateur tiendra sa promesse, la promesse de M. Poilievre, il y a quelques jours seulement, de collaborer avec le gouvernement et qu'il cessera de bloquer les travaux parlementaires et le plan de M. Carney de façon insensée. So I call on Mr. Poilievre to make good on his promise. Beyond the bills I've mentioned, there will be many more pieces of important legislation to implement Mr. Carney's plan for Canada in the coming weeks. Just earlier this morning, the Prime Minister announced a broad package of measures to make groceries and other essentials more affordable. That includes legislation for the new Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. Formerly known as the GST credit, the government is increasing its amount by 25% for 5 years beginning this July. And in addition to that, we're providing a one-time payment equivalent to a 50% increase this year. Combined, that means a family of 4 will receive up to $1,890 this year and about $1,400 a year for the next 4 years. And a single person will receive up to $950 this year and about $700 a year for the next 4 years. The new benefit will provide additional significant support for more than 12 million Canadians. There should be no delay in moving ahead with this measure. We'll be counting on Mr. Poilievre and the Conservatives to pass this bill quickly. So to sum up, MPs will have a busy agenda before them this winter and this spring. Canadians expect no less than for parliamentarians to get to work and pass the Carney Plan. I will be working very hard every day to get things done for Canadians, et j'invite tous mes collègues de tous les partis à se joindre à moi. Ensemble, nous pouvons bâtir, avec un nouveau gouvernement, un Canada fort. Merci. Thank you.
Monsieur MacKinnon, une précision et une question. Il est supposé d'avoir un vote de confiance cette semaine. J'imagine que c'est sur le budget. Pouvez-vous juste...
Un vote de confiance sur le budget?
Bien, c'est ce qu'on entend. Monsieur Carney a eu l'air de dire que oui, ça s'en venait dans la prochaine... il y a deux choses. Là.
Donc, on va déposer un projet de loi pour mettre en vigueur les annonces et les mesures proposées par M. Carney ce matin.
Sur le budget, il n'y a pas de vote par rapport à la... OK. Je voudrais vous entendre réagir aux déclarations de Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon en fin de semaine qui décrit M. Carney, mais aussi donc les libéraux fédéraux comme les leaders du camp du non. Comment vous réagissez à ça?
Le Canada est ensemble, francophone et anglophone. J'en suis le parfait exemple. On bâtit dans les deux langues officielles et dans le respect mutuel un pays qui est le meilleur pays au monde. Un pays qui s'illustre et qui se distingue sur le plan international, non seulement pour sa prospérité, mais pour le fait que nous avons au cœur de notre Charte des libertés et droits, au cœur de nos lois, au cœur des opérations de notre gouvernement canadien, notre gouvernement fédéral, le respect des langues officielles.
Mais c'est la bataille.
Chef du Parti québécois, qu'est-ce que vous allez faire concrètement pour assumer votre rôle de leader du camp du non avec M. Carney, autre que des discours sur les plaines d'Abraham qui ont offensé certaines personnes?
Je ne commenterai pas la politique provinciale au Québec, autre que d'observer que d'ici le mois d'octobre, moi j'habite le Québec, je suis un électeur au Québec, et les Québécois comme moi vont faire leur choix en octobre. D'ici là, je pense que tous les politiciens seraient bien avisés de tenir compte de ce qui se passe dans le monde, de préparer notre pays, de protéger notre prospérité, d'ouvrir des nouveaux marchés à travers le monde, de diversifier nos relations avec d'autres pays. C'est là le travail du gouvernement. Et j'ajouterais que ce matin, l'abordabilité est aussi au cœur des priorités et de l'action du gouvernement.
À l'automne, vous avez seulement fait passer un seul projet de loi. Là, on vous entend. Tout ce que vous avez dit, c'est qu'il faudrait que les conservateurs nous aident. Comment vous allez changer votre stratégie législative et parlementaire au lieu de juste attendre que les partis d'opposition fassent plus d'opposition?
Vous venez de confirmer avec éloquence ce que je maintiens depuis longtemps, que l'obstruction conservatrice, je pense, commence à ne plus être tolérée par les Canadiens et surtout par les Canadiens dans les circonscriptions conservatrices. Les Canadiens qui habitent des circonscriptions conservatrices n'ont pas voté pour l'obstruction, surtout pas dans l'époque dans laquelle nous vivons. Et nous avons vu une ouverture chez M. Poilievre. J'indique tout simplement que ce matin, M. Poilievre doit agir, doit s'enlever du chemin. On sait que une bonne partie de l'agenda et du plan de M. Carney pour le Canada jouit de l'appui, un vaste appui, dans même les circonscriptions où ils ont voté pour un député conservateur. Nous entendons réitérer ce message-là, évidemment, au sein de la population, mais au cœur d'ici, les gens qui ont voté pour un conservateur ne s'attendent pas à ce qu'ils donnent des discours sur des chats et des chiens, s'attendent à ce qu'ils donnent et qu'ils interviennent pour, justement, mettre en œuvre le plan de M. Carney.
Pourquoi vous n'avez pas mentionné M. Blanchet, M. Davies, vous n'avez pas parlé des autres partis d'opposition?
Pardon me?
Minister McKinnon, you didn't mention Bill C-9, the hate speech law. It's one of the
Yeah.
bills you want conservative help on. There's been a lot of pushback from religious communities saying this bill goes too far. They're worried about it trampling on their rights. Is this a signal from the government that this bill needs more work, or you need to retool the bill to get people on board with what you want to do?
I remember when conservatives talked about protecting synagogues, mosques, other places, churches, other places of worship in this country. That bill does exactly that. We hope they pass it very quickly.
Are you open to the Conservatives' proposal, though, to put C9 to the side in order for them to say fast-track the bail bill, C14, C16, and their other crime legislation?
Here's what I'm open to. Conservatives getting out of the way of the most ambitious crime agenda in a generation. A series of measures, a series of bills that would deal with extortion, that would deal with child pornography, that would protect victims, and particularly women and victims of intimate partner violence, that would protect places of worship. This is a broad and expansive crime agenda. Conservatives used to be for that. We are going to be telling Conservatives that they have a suite of crime measures in front of them that they can pass today.
To say, hey, work with us on these crime bills. They're raising issues with one particular piece of legislation. Why not just push that to the side in this spirit of cooperation to help get things passed?
Look, we're for our bills. They want to pass a bill, we'll pass the bill. How about that?
You've spoken a lot about the Conservatives. Can you talk about whether or not the Bloc is prepared to work with you to pass the Budget Implementation Act through committees?
I have no idea. You'll have to ask the Bloc Québécois. Obviously, people in Bloc ridings, I live in Quebec, represent a Quebec riding. Quebecers did not vote for what they're hearing coming out of the mouths of sovereignists right now. They want to vote for day-to-day essentials, help with their groceries, and to protect our country, all of our country, against the trade and other threats that we see on the news every day.
Est-ce que le Carney Plan, là, c'est un slogan de campagne, ça?
Je sais pas. C'est
comme
pas
ça.
moi qui
Vous
développe
trouvez
les
pas?
slogans de campagne.
Non?
Moi, je trouvais que ça résonne, moi.
Est-ce qu'on doit faire une campagne électorale au printemps?
Moi, je trouve que ça résonne, le plan de M. Carney, parce qu'il a un plan. C'est un premier ministre avec une vision, avec un plan pour le Canada qu'il a partagé une bonne partie à Davos. Il l'a partagé dans ses diverses interventions. Il a partagé ce matin sa passion pour l'abordabilité chez les Canadiens. Donc, c'est un premier ministre avec un plan auquel les libéraux ici adhèrent, un plan auquel M. Poilievre a indiqué une certaine ouverture, et on fait appel à lui de l'appuyer, le plan Carney.
Est-ce qu'il y a une élection à l'automne, au printemps? Est-ce qu'il y a une élection hâtive dans ce plan-là?
Nous pensons que ce Parlement peut fonctionner. Nous pensons que ce Parlement a l'occasion, que ce soit sur le crime, sur l'abordabilité, ou si les divers défis auxquels fait face notre économie et notre prospérité, nous pensons que il n'y a aucune raison, là. On a été élus au mois d'avril avec un mandat fort. Je pense que les Canadiens se sont exprimés de façon très claire sur leur approbation du plan de M. Carney, et nous pensons que ce Parlement peut agir rapidement pour mettre en œuvre des parties importantes de cette vision.
Why is your government moving ahead with C9 when so many religious communities from multi-faiths have said they are uncomfortable with bill? They did not feel that this was the initial intention of it. Why is that not a signal to you to slow down and prioritize some of your other crime legislation?
I remember when Conservatives were for protecting synagogues, mosques, and place.
I'm not talking about Conservatives. I'm talking about religious leaders in this country that are expressing concern about this bill.
Well, we're obviously sensitive, and we'll listen to all Canadians as we do on all bills. But we very much think it's important, the principles that are in Bill C9. We are going to continue to put them, along with other key pieces of legislation, as part of the most ambitious crime-fighting agenda any government has put in place in a generation.
Have you answered?
Mr. MacKinnon, has your government considered a snap election if you're unable to convince more floor crossers to come over to the Liberals? Is that in play at all? How was that discussed?
No, as I just said, I think this Parliament can work. I think Canadians expressed themselves only last April, the end of April, on the Carney Plan, on the plan to diversify trade markets, to create opportunities, to attract $1 trillion of investment, and to make life more affordable. There is no reason that plan cannot get, unless Mr. Poilievre continues with his obstruction, there's no way that plan should not receive the approval of this Parliament. There is a majority in that room for that plan. Mr. Poilievre has to get out of the way and allow his MPs to vote on an ambitious crime-fighting agenda, to vote on a plan to grow our economy, and to vote on a plan to make life more affordable to Canadians. That's what we're calling on him to do today.
National unity. What is your government going to do in regards to the two separatist movements right now in Alberta and the possible referendum in Quebec as well? What kind of focus will national unity and containing these separatist movements be this time around?
You know what we're going to do? We're going to grow our economy. We're going to create jobs. We're going to diversify trade markets. We're going to make life more affordable. And we're going to put an ambitious crime-fighting agenda before this Parliament. That's what we're going to do. Thank you. Merci.
Justin?